Team Tigers. I am Brooklyn.
And I am Jaylene, and this is LVM's Daily News. Here's today's word. Stop by and tell Mr. Hall what it means and use it in a sentence. He'll reward you with a paw, and we all know how valuable those paws are.
Keep collecting them. Every paw gets you closer to an awesome prize. The more paws you have, the better your chances to win. Be your best.
Next up, here are the awesome morning and after school programs. Here's some important information.
On the 20th of January 1986, Martin Luther King Jr. Day was first observed as a federal holiday. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on the 15th of January 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. Having earned a doctorate in theology, he rose to national prominence as a leader of the civil rights movement in the wake of his role in the Montgomery bus boycott that began in 1955. Despite being an advocate for non-violent activism, he was assassinated on the 4th of April 1968, prompting an almost immediate call for a holiday in his honour. While some towns and states introduced their own holidays, it would be more than 17 years before the first federal holiday was observed. In the years following King's assassination, a number of bills that would create a federal holiday were introduced to the Senate and to the House, where they were unable to secure sufficient votes in favour. Despite these setbacks, King's widow, Coretta Scott King, continued to work with sympathetic lawmakers and celebrities including Stevie Wonder, whose 1980 song Happy Birthday was released in support of the campaign. Eventually, in 1983, Congress voted in favour of a bill introduced by Representative Katie Hall that would honour King through a federal holiday on the third Monday every January. President Ronald Reagan signed the bill into law on the 2nd of November 1983. The first Martin Luther King Jr. Day was celebrated as a federal holiday on the 20th of January 1986, by which time 17 states had already introduced their own King holidays. Nevertheless, there were a number of states that did not recognise the day as a paid holiday for federal employees. South Carolina became the last one to do so on the 2nd of May 2000, when Governor Jim Hodges signed a bill to make King's birthday an official paid holiday.
Hello, do you realise that it's already no name calling week? Go to glisten.org to learn more about that. If you are a young person who's being bullied and feel like you don't fit in, you probably feel some shame about that, like, oh, I wish I was just like everyone else. Don't wish that you were just like everyone else. It's alright to be unusual and strange. When you're a bit older too, you'll learn that most people that do bullying are doing it because they're all sad inside and they experience terrible things at home and they're bullied themselves. So somewhere in you, there's part of you that is detached from all of the bullying and detached from all of the fear. Develop a relationship with that part of you, because that's going to save you. If you are doing a bit of bullying, you think, oh, I might do a bit of bullying now. Start to recognise it in yourself. Oh wow, I like bullying people. This is weird. Have a conversation. Try not to condemn yourself. You're probably doing it because you feel all sad inside. Try and address the motivations of it. Have a look at glisten.org.
Now on to CNN's Coy Wire reporting on our world news.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a nice long weekend and an awesome Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Today, we have a special inauguration edition of CNN 10. I'm Coy Wire. It's Tuesday, January 21st, and the U.S. has sworn in a new but very familiar president. On Monday, Donald J. Trump was sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, returning to the office after serving as the 45th president as well before Joe Biden. He joins Grover Cleveland as the only two presidents to serve two non-consecutive terms. Presidential inaugurations are written into the U.S. Constitution's 20th Amendment that was ratified in 1933. It sets January 20th for the swearing in of a new or re-elected president and marks the end of a preceding president's term. The Constitution is where we find the president's oath of office read and recited at the swearing-in ceremony. President Trump's second inauguration ceremony looked much different than his first, after bitterly cold weather in Washington, D.C. compelled organizers to move it indoors. It's the first time an inauguration has been held inside the U.S. Capitol since Ronald Reagan's second term in 1985.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Even before the inauguration, Trump's team had been planning executive actions to be signed on day one. While these orders for members of the executive branch are directed at specific topics and don't usually affect as many people as congressional laws, they do establish presidential policy and set the tone of an administration. President Trump's new executive actions span from immigration and border policy to energy production and diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in the federal government. A new tone was not only set by the signed executive actions on Inauguration Day, but was also laid out in President Trump's inauguration speech to the nation. Here are some key moments.
The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
Pop quiz hot shot. The 20th Amendment specifies what time as the end of an outgoing president's term. 8:30 a.m., 11:59 a.m., 12 p.m., or no time specified. The 20th Amendment says, at noon, the term for an outgoing president and vice president ends. The peaceful transfer of power that begins President Trump's term also marks the end of President Joe Biden's 4 years in office. In his last moments as president on Monday, Biden used his executive powers to grant preemptive pardons to public officials and family members as a way to protect several outspoken critics of the incoming president. Trump and Biden spent several moments together before the inauguration ceremonies, including a tea and coffee reception for the incoming and outgoing presidents and their spouses at the White House. The two men rode together in the presidential limo to the Capitol for the inauguration, something that did not happen 4 years ago when Trump skipped Biden's swearing in. After the day's ceremonies ended, President Biden was flown by helicopter to Joint Base Andrews in Maryland for a farewell event. The inauguration marks the end of a lengthy 5-decade political career for Joe Biden that he punctuated with a farewell speech, where he said serving as president was the honor of his lifetime. All right, superstars, that marks the beginning of a new 4-year term for President Trump and the end of our special inaugural edition of CNN 10. We'll be back tomorrow in our regular form. See you tomorrow, superstar.
Thanks so much for watching. I am Brooklyn.
And I am Julie, and this was LVM's Daily News.